Guys, Martin speaking. This is a tutorial on how to paint Hive Fleet Kraken. I'm using the Hive Guard models here. So start with the layer model air, fire red, drop of water in the airbrush and then add the fire red to it. Then do this just to thin it out that little bit extra. Some people use thinners. Water seems to be fine for me with it. They're quite thin anyway, the layer model air colours. But anyway, yeah, we go straight into the model over all the carapace areas. Don't worry about getting it onto the flesh, we're going to go back over them shortly. And we literally just cover all the bits, all the side and tails, anything that wants to be that colour red. This is a very, very simple colour to paint, colour scheme to paint I should say. And I do apologise for the camera in and out of focus, the model off the camera as well. I'm not used to painting in front of the camera. It's the first time we've done it, so these will get better. Any comments and hints and tips are more than welcome. Please write them in below. But yeah, just make sure you get a nice even coverage before you then move on. If you miss any bits, obviously you can always go back in with the brush. But from there then I'll take the ghost primer, ghost grey primer, which I used to prime the whole models in anyway, and I'll go back in once that red's dried, and I'll just touch back in onto all the areas where the red's gone over, so that I've got a nice grey to work on my base coat. If you want to, guys, you can use white at this point, and your next step will be a much lighter contrast, which is more like the GW Hive Fleet Kraken colour. I prefer a slightly darker colour, so I go over grey, but obviously if you want that lighter colour, use white at this stage rather than grey. And yeah, literally just block in all the areas that you're going to end up putting the wash onto. So anything that's not armour or carapace, basically anything you don't want red, and that's all you need to do. Some people will mount them, you'll see later I mount this onto blue tack, but for this stage I've got to get right in underneath the model and everything, so it's easier for me to actually hold the model. And that's it. So once that primer's dry, you then literally get your sepia wash and you just load it on over all those grey areas, and it's not a difficult thing. You don't have to be overly neat. Don't worry if it goes onto any of the carapace, because we're going to deal with that in a bit. And put it on as thick or as thin as you want until you get the desired colour. If it pools up, obviously just brush it out. Sometimes it looks quite nice where it pools. Be particularly careful on the likes of the tail, because sometimes it can look more like a stain. It actually looks like a mistake rather than natural skin. And to be fair, guys, there's nothing to say that at this stage you could just leave the model. It's absolutely fine on the tabletop at that stage. There's nothing extra on it, but I then go in with a Reichland flesh straight over all the carapace pieces, because I just find it adds a bit of depth to the model as well. Darkens the red down another touch, which then works with my darker feel for my Kraken theme. It just I say depth is the word that I can use for it. It just adds that little bit to it. Make sure you get every area with this though that you're going to have red, otherwise it will stand out like a sore thumb, and you'll notice the areas that you haven't done when you look back on it. It's easy enough to go back in if you have missed something. But I do the talons, I do the carapace, I do the legs, the feet. I then use Cassandra yellow and go into all the open bits on the flesh. I don't know what they are, whether it's poison areas of the skin, but it just adds a slight subtle difference and the eye draws to it ever so slightly. And then after that I then pick up my Agrax air shade, trustiest one, and any of the darker areas or any of the spots that are on the skin I colour in with that, and it just adds an extra depth onto the skin, gives it a little darker colour, especially around the jaw areas and the joints of the arms and legs. Add it into them and just adds that bit more depth. And then you can see there I've got random tan, which is another Vallejo colour model air, and at this point model's off the camera and then it's not in focus. It's not the best model to be using, to be fair, but this is for my teeth. Wash it down with Agrax air shade after you put it on, by all means. I actually forgot to film that part, but it's 2 drops of Agrax air shade onto the teeth, and that's it done. You grab the orange, in for the tongue on the orange. Might already have a bit of red on it, and then I put a little bit on the side and talons as well, just to make them a little bit better. You can go in and you can feather highlight the whole model, by all means do that. I just keep mine nice and simple, just a quick army to play with. And this is the finished model, guys. And say it's on one of the typical nib bases, and it's good enough to go on a table. It's not going to win any awards, but I'm happy with the work. So please let me know what you think. If you've got any other requests, these videos will be coming out more often. I'll see you soon. Thank you very much.